Maria's life insurance, my retirement. The grandkids' college fund we started before there were grandkids to dream about. All poured into a house where I wasn't welcome for Christmas dinner. I dialed the bank. For English, press 1. Para español, oprima dos. Thoughtful, I guess. Customer service. This is Jennifer. I need to cancel an automatic transfer, I said. She took my info without judgment. I see a $2,800 monthly to Wells Fargo. Account ending 7,423. How long has that been going? 5 years, I said, and tasted the bitterness. Cancel effective immediately. Done, she said. 2 syllables that felt like a sunrise. I hung up and listened to the quiet. Outside, December settled in. Other houses twinkled with lights and laughter that didn't require admission tickets. For the first time in 5 years, my January budget would balance. For the first time since Maria died, I might buy fresh fruit without checking the unit price 3 times. I gathered the papers and walked to the fireplace. The match hissed. 5 years of martyrdom went up like dry leaves. My phone buzzed on the counter. I let it dance. I poured a measure of the good whiskey I never opened. I lifted the glass toward Maria's photo. Merry Christmas to me, I said, and for once, meant it. Morning came right and crisp. I let coffee bloom dark and strong in a mug Maria bought at a street market in Oaxaca. I didn't do the math in my head for the first time in years. Freedom tasted like Colombian. Beans and clean air. At 10:47, Isabella called. "Dennis," she snapped. "I need you to pick up my parents at Spokane Airport. Alaska 447, baggage claim 3. 2 o'clock. I put my cup down with care. "Did you forget yesterday? Whatever that was?" She said, "This is practical. They need a ride, and you're the only one with weekday time." The audacity could have powered a small city. "And you're asking me because that's what family does," she said. "Also, let's be honest, you're not my rival. You're too weak to be my rival. Just wear something decent. That blue shirt from Michael's graduation." "Of course," I said softly. "I'll take care of everything." "Good," she said, and hung up without thanks. At 2:15, I settled into my favorite armchair with Earl Grey and the Sunday Review. The crossword clue I'd left blank. The night before, 12 letters for delayed gratification came back to me. Postponement. My phone vibrated. I let it sing to the table wood. 2:47. A text preview. "Dad, where are you?" "My parents are." I turned the phone face down. "And read about the Seahawks. Some losses you don't own." By 3:30, 6 calls. I brewed more tea, then cleaned the junk drawer, batteries, rubber bands, warranty cards for appliances I couldn't afford to replace. 3:45. A different number. I watched it fade. Outside, a neighbor was hanging lights. His kids ran in the eye. Yard, shrieking winter joy. Normal families doing normal things. No one stranded. No servants summoned. 4:15. The phone wouldn't quit. Isabella. Unknown. Isabella. Unknown. I unplugged the landline and switched off my cell. Silence descended like snow. I made a grilled cheese, buttered both sides, watched the bread go gold. Tomato soup steamed in my favorite mug. Somewhere across town, 3 people shouted about taxes and luggage and the cost of not owning a human being. The soup tasted better than it had in years. 5 o'clock. Dishes done. I was choosing a movie when the pounding started. Not knocking. Pounding. The kind that rattles frames and announces entitlement with both fists. Through the peephole, 3 figures bunched tight like a storm front. Cody, red and sweating. Catherine, immaculate hair barely surviving. Isabella, eyeliner washed south. I opened the door. What the hell is wrong with you? Cody barked, shouldering past me without invitation. Catherine swept in on a draft of expensive perfume. This is unacceptable, Dennis. Barbaric. Isabella slammed the door and found her footing. You humiliated us. A $40 taxi. Because you decided to get out of my house, I said. Quiet. Precise. The room recalibrated. Excuse? Cody's face purpled. You don't get to make demands after what you pulled. This is my house, I repeated, steady as a plumb line. Out. Catherine advanced, voice dripping condescension aged in oak. You don't understand who we are. My husband has connections. Business, social. You don't treat people like us this way without consequences. This was a lesson, I said, meeting her eyes. About arrogance? About treating people you think are beneath you. Isabella scoffed. A lesson? You? You're nobody. I'm the man who stopped being your bank and your driver, I said, opening the door wide to the cold. Class dismissed. Cody jabbed a finger at my chest, careful not to actually touch me. You have no idea who you're messing with. I've been in this town longer than you've been alive. People listen to me. Is that a threat, Mr. Jenkins? It's a promise. You think abandoning elderly people at an airport is just nothing? Watch what happens next. Catherine's smile could cut glass. Actions have consequences. Asterisk. Daddy. Let's go, Isabella said. This man isn't worth. They retreated, but Cody turned at the threshold. You'll regret this. I closed the door. The deadbolt clicked, small sound, big feeling. The house felt cleaner, like someone opened a window in a room that hadn't aired out in years. Their words rattled around. Public consequences, connections. I picked up my tea. Warm, steady. Let them try. 3 days later, my face stared up from page 3 of the review. Headline: Spokane businessman abandons elderly couple at airport during holiday storm. A storm? It had been 52 and sunny. They used an old headshot from my company website. Me younger, softer. Cody and Catherine were quoted like saints in distress. They waited for hours in frigid conditions, they said, while I, a known erratic, ignored their pleas. No mention of Christmas dinner. No context of 5 years of financial CPR. Just a villain cast perfectly for a community theater tragedy. The byline: Patricia Morrison, lifestyle editor. I didn't know the name. I knew the playbook. Cody had called in favors. In Spokane, reputation is currency. One story can bankrupt you. Point taken. I folded the paper and opened my laptop. If they wanted a public fight, I'd give them Exhibits A through Z. Cody Jenkins, retired bank manager, golf club stalwart, treasurer of a business association, a man with more to lose than he understood. Catherine, an Instagram of charity luncheons, lake house summers, and the humble brag caption, #BlessedLife. Isabella, Facebook check-ins at restaurants during months. I paid their heat. Photos of the kitchen I bought. Caption: Our home. My foot. The last piece clicked on LinkedIn. Michael had a new connection. Patricia Morrison. The same. One who wrote the hit piece. I traced the grid. Cody to Patricia's editor through 3 mutuals. Not coincidence. Placement. I started a timeline document. Down payment: $47,000 for my home equity loan. Kitchen: $18,000 my card. 60 mortgage payments, $168,000 and counting. Plus utilities, landscaping, furniture, the kind that looks like nobody lives there. $250,000. The number made my jaw ache. I printed bank statements, receipts, screenshots of their posts where they bragged about the life I bought them. I annotated the newspaper article line by line. Winter storm, False. Erratic behavior. Context omitted. By evening, a manila folder thick enough to choke a horse sat on my table, and an idea bright as a match head burned in my mind. On Isabella's Facebook events, hosting Christmas dinner, 12 guests. Perfect, the audience had already. RSVPD. I circled December 24th on my wall calendar, not for the holiday, but for the reveal. Morning dawned gray, typical Spokane winter. I laid out packets like a trial lawyer, statements by year, payments highlighted, receipts in order, screenshots beside purchases, the article on top with red ink calling out lies. 12 copies. I dressed in my navy suit, the one from Maria's funeral. I wasn't burying a person, but I was burying a role. At 6:30 p.m., Kendall Yards was a cathedral of warm light and expensive taste. Cars crammed the driveway and the street. Through the window, I saw Isabella glide between guests, performing domestic goddess on a stage I'd built. I parked across the street, checked my watch, 6:45, late enough that plates would be full, early enough that no one could claim hunger as an excuse to leave. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. Safety is a luxury some people wear like a badge. Laughter drifted from the dining room. But darling, that's not how we do things in our family. Catherine's voice chimed. Our family. I walked in, briefcase in hand. 12 faces turned in a slow-motion ripple. Surprise, then confusion, then a flicker of fear. Good evening, everyone, I said, setting the briefcase on the marble sideboard. Isabella's wineglass stalled halfway. Michael went pale. Cody's jaw clenched. Dennis, Isabella said, finding her register. This is wildly inappropriate. You need to leave. Actually, I said, opening the case, I think your guests deserve to know who paid for this dinner, this house, and this lifestyle. A woman in pearls leaned forward, fascinated despite herself. What is he talking about, Isabella? He's having an episode, Isabella said quickly. Michael, call someone. I walked the table, placing a packet before each plate like a second course. Bank records, I said. 5 years of financial support. $168,000 in mortgage. Payments alone. Down payment, renovations, furniture, appliances, the works. Paper rustled. Eyes tracked dates, amounts, signatures. Faces changed. This is? A man began, then stopped, staring hard at his packet. Outrageous, the woman in pearls said for him. It's complicated, Isabella said, smile trembling. Dennis volunteered. We never asked. I placed the newspaper copies in the center. Let's talk about what you did ask for, and what you told the media. The temperature dropped. People recognized the headline. My photo, the insinuations. Mr. Jenkins used his old banking relationships to plant this, I said. A man in a cashmere sweater looked at Cody. Cody? It was 52 degrees that day, I said, before he could spin. No storm. And they weren't helpless. Tourists. They were the host's parents, headed to the dinner I was banned from because I don't fit the decor. That's not what we said, Catherine blurted. We never... I pulled out my phone and tapped screenshots to life. Too low class for your parents. Mexican food and working-class conversation would embarrass you. I read aloud. The charity friend shifted in her seat. Catherine, Cody rallied. He's unstable. The stress, financial problems? I almost laughed. I've been paying your daughter's bills to the tune of $3,000 a month for 5 years. The only financial problems here are the ones you're about to have. I faced the table. They took over $200,000 from me while calling. Me names behind my back. They turned my son against me. When I finally said enough, they tried to salt the earth of my reputation. Michael spoke, voice thin. Dad, I didn't know about the article. Your wife did, I said. Her parents orchestrated it. The room shifted, a visible tilt, as realization set in. Social gravity is brutal when it reverses. The woman in pearls set her packet down like it was radioactive. This is unconscionable, she said to Cody. To exploit this man, then smear him publicly? Cody's facade cracked. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. She said, he abandoned us at the airport. Catherine tried, voice strangled. After you told me I wasn't welcome at your table, I said, calm as January. After 5 years of paying for the table. Silence fell hard and complete. Isabella made one last play. Everyone, please. This is a family matter. No, I said. It stopped being private when you printed a lie. I wanted you all to hear the truth before you read about me again. Because you will. Next time, it'll be the real story. I closed my briefcase and straightened my tie. Enjoy your dinner. It's the last one I'll be paying for. I walked out to the soundtrack of civilization collapsing, raised voices, cutlery forgotten, 1,000 tiny masks clattering to the floor. Aftermath, foreclosure and a doorstep conversation march. A letter arrived by certified mail. Notice of default. 3 months arrears. $8,400. 14 days to cure or face foreclosure. I said it beside my coffee. Weather in the distance. The calls had started in January. Isabella first, hysterical. Then Catherine, cold. Cody, indignant. Finally, unknown numbers that always turned into someone I didn't owe. I blocked, ignored, moved on. I fixed the porch light, patched the driveway, painted the living room. It's amazing what you can do when your money comes home at night. On day 97, Michael knocked. He didn't look like the man who had told me I wasn't welcome. He looked like a man who'd been emptied and shaken. Dad, he said, we need to talk. He stood in my living room like he'd never seen it. New recliner, fresh paint, framed photos, Maria, Aunt Rosa's family, and me at Easter, a plate of food in front of me and no apology required. Nice place, he said. It's what happens, I said, when you spend money on yourself instead of people who don't appreciate it. Coffee? He shook his head. I'm sorry, he said, about Christmas, the article, the way we treated you. Go on, I said. I didn't know about Cody's call to the paper. When I found out, he broke off, ran a hand through hair that suddenly had more gray than last year. You should hear the things they said about you. About Mom. My jaw tightened. What things? That she knew her place. That she understood boundaries. We sat in silence long enough to hear a lawnmower 2 houses over. The house is in foreclosure, he said finally. I know. We can't make the payments without. He stopped himself. Without? My money, I said. Do you know how much I sent over 5 years? He nodded miserably. Isabella tallied it. Over 200,000. $237,468, I said. I added it up. Dad, I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix this. You can't, I said. The money is gone. Worse, the years are gone. 5 Christmases traded for throw pillows. He looked up with naked hope. Maybe we could start over? I'm not asking you to. Are you asking me to resume the mortgage? The hope died. He swallowed. We're going to lose everything. The house. Isabella's respect. Her parents. Approval. Maybe losing the wrong things is how you find the right ones, I said. Like a father you traded away. He blinked. I lost you. You gave me away, I said. There's a difference. Could you forgive me? I already did, I said. But forgiveness isn't amnesia. It doesn't mean I go back to funding a life that treats me like a stain. He nodded. Then what does it mean? I stood and lifted a photo from the mantel. Me, Rosa, her kids, Easter eggs under a gray sky. It means if you want a relationship, you build one. From zero. With respect. With choices that cost you something. He stared at the floor. The house isn't my problem, I said gently. You're a grown man. Sell it. Rent an apartment. Get a job that pays for your life, instead of a life that requires someone else's job. He straightened, shoulders finally remembering their purpose. You're right. I know, I said. He reached the door, looked back. For what it's worth, when you stood up for yourself at dinner, I was proud. Angry, but proud. Good, I said. Maybe there's hope for you yet. After he left, I poured the good whiskey and stepped onto the porch. Spring leaned. In from the edges, buds, birds, a lighter sky. In 4 months, I'd be 63. Maria had been gone 8 years. I'd wasted 5 on people who thought my love was a line item in their budget. My phone buzzed. A text from Rosa. Sunday. Dinner? The kids want to show you their science projects. I smiled. Wouldn't miss it. Turns out family isn't who shares your last name. It's who saves you a chair and is happy you took it. Everything else is expensive theater. And I'm done buying. Tickets. If you like this story, hit like, subscribe, and tell us what part hit home. To hear the next one, click the box on the left. When my son told me I wouldn't be welcome at his house for Christmas, I smiled, got in my car, and made a single call. By the new year, I had their mortgage payments canceled. And that was only the opening move. Justice had a balance sheet, and arrogance had accrued interest. You won't believe what I did next. Before we go on, hit subscribe and tell us where you're listening from. I could make my famous turkey this year, I said, sinking into Michael's leather couch. The one with the same give as memory foam, and the same price as a used car. With the sage stuffing your mother loved. She used to say it beat her grandmother's. The words hovered between us, sweet and heavy, like the vanilla candles Isabella buys in bulk, branding the house with a scent that says money first, people second. Michael shifted. I felt him pull. Away without moving an inch. The 12-foot tree glittered, all symmetry and catalog perfection. Not a single ornament from his childhood made the cut. He cleared his throat. Dad, unfortunately, you won't be welcome here for Christmas. The words hit bone. I stared at him to see if he'd break character, grin, say it was a joke. He didn't. Why? My voice was steady. His eyes stayed on the marble coffee table. I helped him choose when Isabella said nothing less than Calicata would do. Isabella's parents are coming, he said. They'd prefer. If you weren't. Here. Prefer. A velvet word covering a rusted nail. It's just easier this way. You know her family and their traditions. His shoulders folded in on themselves, like he was bracing for an impact he created. I looked around, silk curtains I'd funded. When she said the neighbors could see in, hardwood floors paid for by my second mortgage, crown molding by my credit card. Every corner had my fingerprints, but not my place. Their own way, I repeated. And what way is that, Michael? He flinched. Dad, please don't make this harder. Through the archway gleamed the $2,000 mixer she'd used twice. A monument to a 3-week baking phase and my permanent generosity. Where should I spend Christmas then? The question came out smaller than I wanted. Maybe Aunt Rosa? Or we can do something the weekend after, he said. Like Christmas was an oil change you pushed to Saturday. I stood up, knees complaining. After 8 years of bending, I passed their carefully curated family photos. My face shrank frame by frame. A guest star in my own bloodline. My hand found the doorknob. Tell Isabella's parents. I paused. Fellas navigated. The December air slapped, clean and unforgiving. Behind me, Michael said my name. The door clicked. Verdict delivered. I sat in my truck and watched warm windows glow in houses where I'd never be welcome. My phone buzzed. I didn't look. I turned the key and drove. Spokane South Hill slid by, a map of who I used to be, the man who believed family meant sacrifice without receipts. At 29th and Grand, a young father loaded wrapped boxes. 2 kids fogged the glass with excitement, faces wide as the moon. That used to be us. Before Isabella, before I became an ATM with inconvenient feelings. The numbers clattered in my head. $2,800 a month, 60 months. My calculator had waved the white flag last spring. $140,000, not counting the down payment, not counting the utilities, not counting the new roof I shouldn't even know about. I pressed the accelerator when the light changed and listened to the engine growl, exactly how I felt. I drove past the 5th Street branch, where I refinanced my house, Maria's and mine, to get them into theirs. "Mr. Flores, are you sure?" the loan officer had asked, a softness in his voice I didn't hear at the time. "Someone else's." "Investment," he'd said, "not my son's future. Someone else's investment. Asterisk Lincoln Street, where I took a second mortgage when Michael lost his job. Just temporary, Dad," he'd said. Isabella stood behind him with a $700 purse that held less than the pride I'd just swallowed. Funny, the way pity can be expensive. I pulled into my driveway. Cracked concrete greeted me like an unresolved argument. The porch light flickered. The paint needed love. Inside, the rooms were too quiet without Maria's laugh. My phone rang. Isabella. Perfect. I'd been waiting 5 years. I let it ring 4 times. "Dennis," she sang, sweet enough to rot teeth. I heard about the little misunderstanding. "No misunderstanding," I said. "You were clear." She sighed like I was a dense contractor on a tight deadline. "You have to understand my parents' perspective. They're very traditional. They expect a certain holiday atmosphere." "And what atmosphere is that?" I asked. "Shopping bags." Rustled on her end. "Well, they're not used to your kind of cooking, all that spicy Mexican food and loud music. And Dennis, they're educated. They talk about literature, art, current events." Each word was a file on my dignity. 8 years of swallowing comments like pills without water. "My kind of cooking," I said. "You mean the food you ate every Sunday for 3 years? The tamales you said tasted like your grandmother's?" "That was different," she said. "We were appreciative then. But with my parents," I said. Now the Mexican peasant would embarrass the dinner. The sugar left her voice. "Don't be dramatic. It's not about race. It's about class. My father graduated summa cum laude. My mother speaks 4 languages. They summer in the Hamptons. What could you add? Stories about laying tile?" Heat rose in my chest, but my voice stayed level. "I built a business from nothing after my father-in-law died. I've employed over 50 people. I've paid more in taxes than your father made in his best year." "Money isn't everything," she said. "Breeding matters. Education matters. And frankly, Maria understood her place better than you." Silence. A line I didn't know existed until she crushed it under designer heels. "What did you say about my wife?" "She knew how to blend in," Isabella said. "She didn't make waves." Her laugh was small and mean. She was a house cleaner who got lucky. My fingers went white around the phone. "Maria had more class in her little finger than your entire bloodline," I said. "This conversation is over," I told her, voice low and unfamiliar. "We're done pretending to be family." "You can't just," she started. I hung up. The house changed temperature. Nothing to do with the thermostat. Lighter, cleaner. I went to my desk. Manila folders. Bank statements. Mortgage. Papers. 5 years of transfers that bled me dry, while they lived like they'd won a sweepstake called Dennis. Time to stop the bleeding. I spread the papers like evidence. Each statement had the same scar. $2,800. 15th of the month. I totaled again, even though I knew. $33,600 the first year. Same the second. By year 3, I'd stopped buying clothes. Year 4, discount groceries. Year 5, peanut butter lunches, and maybe next month for every repair. $143,400, not counting the down payment, the utilities, the roof, the landscaping, the curated furniture that matched nothing except their appetite.